Hi people, welcome to the Run Testers, and in this video we are putting two of On's cushion daily trainers up against each other. We have got the new On Cloudsurfer 2, that's going up against the On Cloudeclipse. Now the On Cloudeclipse arrived back in 2023 as a sort of halfway house between the Cloudsurfer and the Cloudmonster. Now the Cloudsurfer 2 landed early in 2025 this year, and it's come back with a new softer midsole. So which one's best? Well, we've clocked the miles to find out exactly that. If you want to know, watch on for our On Cloudsurfer 2 versus On Cloudeclipse head to head. Quick details first then. When it comes to stack height, the On Cloudsurfer 2 comes in at 32mm in the heel, 23 in the forefoot for a 9mm drop. The On Cloudeclipse has a higher midsole volume with 37mm in the heel, 31 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. The On Cloudsurfer 2 weighs in at 9.1 ounces or 258 grams in a UK men's 8.5 test shoe. That's a US 9.5. The Eclipse tips the scales at a slightly heavier 10.5 ounces or 297 grams. Price-wise, the Cloudsurfer 2 lands at £150 or $160. The Cloudeclipse is £170 or $180, give or take a cent. Let's give you a quick shoe comparison then, and the major difference here is in the midsole. Both shoes use Helium foam, which is On's super foam, that's their version of it, and they use On's Cloudtech phase design, where the cloud elements kind of collapse in sequence a bit like a domino and then release as you roll through in each step. But the On Cloudeclipse has the bigger wedge of that Helium foam. Both shoes have pronounced rockers. The Cloudeclipse has a speedball plate that sits on the bottom of the midsole unit to provide some stiffness to those foam elements. The Cloudsurfer 2 has left that out though. No speedball plate here, and that is done to soften the ride. Up top, the Cloudeclipse has a dual layered mesh upper. The Cloudsurfer also goes for those engineered mesh uppers. They're pretty classic On. Both are quite thick, soft and premium feeling. The heel collars here in both shoes are also nice and plushly padded, but the Cloudsurfer 2 takes that plushness up a notch with a bit more. The Cloudsurfer tongues are also much more padded compared to the Cloudeclipse, which has got a wrapping tongue. That wrapping tongue is gusseted down into a kind of 4-foot booty, while the Cloudsurfer sticks with the traditional non-gusseted tongue. If you flip them over, and the On Cloudsurfer has a generous covering of outsole rubber to provide that grip and durability. That rubber is quite thick. It's kind of separated into key pads on all the impact zones, so the sole can flex, but it can also be protected. The Cloudeclipse also has a good covering with perhaps a little more protection though back in these kind of heel impact areas, which some On shoes do suffer from very quick kind of wear and tear, or have done in the past. So then with the On Cloudeclipse versus the On Cloudsurfer 2, let's start with the fit section. Nick, how do you compare and contrast how these felt on the feet?
They felt pretty similar to me, and both have a really nice fit for me. I think they're fairly tight On shoes at the toe box because they convert to a US 9.5 from our UK 9, so sometimes they come in, I think, a little bit smaller than some other brands, but I have a fairly small for my size foot, and I have a fairly narrow foot, and they've both got a really nice fit for me. I don't know if you had any problems with the width of them at all, but because I've got a narrow foot, they felt good, but I don't know if there's maybe a bit tight in the front for some people.
I actually run these both my regular UK 8.5. I think I find the Cloudsurfer 2 a little bit roomier, there's a bit more flex, it's a bit more overall sort of comfortable. Cloudeclipse was fine. I had to work a bit harder, I think, in the Cloudeclipse to get it locked down so that it wasn't any heel slipping. You get the extra padding in the Cloudsurfer 2, which sort of helps with that. But overall, I really like the fit actually of most of the On shoes, particularly the sort of daily trainers. And I think they're kind of got like sort of effortless disappearing fit, and I would recommend going true to size.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, go true to size. Like, I agree with that. On has got really good uppers in general. I think one big difference probably between these is the much bigger tongue you have on the Cloudsurfer, a lot more padding there. So fine here in the UK. If you live in a really hot country, you might notice that padding a bit more to the thin one on the Eclipse, which is probably a little bit more breathable.
Okay, so moving on to the run test. What kind of mileage have you put into these two shoes, Nick? What have you used them for? How have you found it generally in testing?
So two shoes I've really liked, probably my two favourite On daily trainers, just because I really like the rocker on them. Obviously we had the Cloudeclipse in first, I think around about 60-80k in this shoe. It was winter, I think, when we tested it. I remember running some very cold miles along a canal in Scotland. And then we had the Cloudsurfing recently. I've done about 50-60k on this. Just both of them I've used for pretty much general daily training runs, a little bit of easy to steady stuff with some faster stuff like strides at the end. I did use the Cloudeclipse for one short workout, but mostly just as general daily trainers. And I really like both of them. I think they're really nice smooth shoes. That's the thing I have with them. I find them the most kind of natural shoes to running from the on range because of that rocker. Really moves me through my foot strike very smoothly. I think you've got a softer feel with the Cloudsurfer 2 for sure. I noticed that in my testing compared to the Cloudeclipse. It's softer, it does feel a bit lower and a bit cushier in general. I think the Eclipse maybe stands up to kind of long runs a little bit better. I did enjoy doing a really long run in this shoe, but both of them, I would say, outgun the other On daily trainers purely because of that rocker, which I think is a key feature on them. How about yourself, Kieran? What have you found with these shoes?
I've put in probably more miles in the On Cloudeclipse, the shoe I really liked when we tested it way back. I pulled it out again to do some sort of side-by-side when we got the new Cloudsurfer 2. Done the usual stuff, mix of paces. I've done long in kind of both shoes up to about 90 minutes on feet. I really like these. I find them kind of effortless. You know, they sort of drop into that bracket of shoes that when they're in the pile, I kind of want to pick them up. There's not all shoes do that. You know, I find myself reaching for them. They're kind of easy, comfortable. I put them in a kind of cruising bracket. I can cruise really happily in these at what maybe you call it like an endurance pace, where it's sort of maybe just a little bit slower than my marathon pace. Cloudeclipse, bigger stack, should arguably be the softer shoe, but it's kind of not. And then you've got the kind of thinner heel collars and stuff, but there's more plushness into the Cloudsurfer 2 with its lower stack, which feels softer. So it's like they've kind of crossed over two things. I actually did a little side-by-side mile in these just earlier today. I think what's the most interesting, I think, they actually feel very, very sort of similar overall. I would use them for the same kinds of runs. At the time when we first got the Cloudeclipse, it was like this was a cross between the Cloudsurfer 7 and the new Cloudmonster, and it sort of sits in the middle. So it's closer, I think, than the Cloudmonster 2 in terms of its ride. I think that really, for me, boils down to then, you know, on price and a bit of sort of versatility. I think you're getting a little bit more out of the On Cloudsurfer 2 now. It feels more comfortable overall. I think I can do just the sort of same range of paces, same range of runs in it. A little bit of extra softness, which I think a lot of people are going to like. There's no sort of speedball plate in it, so there's maybe a little bit of smoothness in the transitions and a little bit of stiffness that's missing from the Cloudsurfer, but I don't mind that. And yeah, for that reason, I'd sort of lean towards the Cloudsurfer 2. So
I did a short run in them at the same time as well, and throughout my testing, I always think the Cloudsurfer 2 and the Cloudsurfer Original feels like they're going to be really versatile shoes because they are quite lightweight and low profile, but I've actually only really enjoyed them at easy paces because of that softness, the way they roll through. I think the little bit more stiffness you get from the Cloudeclipse 2 does actually make it, for me, the slightly more versatile shoes, despite like being bigger and heavier as well. Yeah, I think it snaps through a bit. I noticed that when I was running at the same time. It's a slightly slappier feel coming through and a louder feel than the Cloudsurfer because of the speedboard, but I think if you're going to run fast, that actually is a benefit. I don't think either are really particularly versatile shoes. For me, are better at that kind of cruising pace, and I think people will enjoy maybe the softer feel of the Surfer, but it might come down more to length of run. I think if I was picking between them, I'm not sure I'd want to go and do so many long runs in the Cloudsurfer, like when marathon training, when every run is fairly long. The Eclipse, I think, holds up to those long runs a bit better and maintains its kind of shape throughout those runs a little bit better. But yeah, they are quite similar. When I first pull them on, though, I think in very initial impression is always that I enjoy the Cloudsurfer more because of that softness, but maybe the Eclipse's extra stiffness maybe gives it a bit of an edge over the longer haul.
The other thing I think that's worth noting as well is largely on the bottom, they've kind of sort of gotten rid of the trenches that grab the stones. The Eclipse does have a little bit at the back and it can grab a stone, but on the whole, I think that's kind of one thing that's really improved over these. Durability wise, they both sort of perform pretty much the same to me. I've got a little bit of wear in the heels, but overall they've done quite well so far, so I don't think there's much to choose in terms of that. I have got this kind of question in my head about why the heavier shoe isn't the more cushioned shoe. Do you think the Cloudeclipse offers more protection?
No, I think it might be heavier partly because it is a bit more maxed out, but maybe the speedboard adds a bit of weight, and I think they're going for. It's almost like the divide you have in some brands where, you know, the more cushioned shoe is designed to be the more premium one and be a better version of it. Like, you know, like the Nimbus and the Nova Blast. It doesn't always happen like that. I think we all prefer the Nova Blast. Maybe we all prefer the Surfer as well. But I think they've gone for, this is actually the more versatile shoe because of the speedboard and the extra cushioning. Gives you that extra edge for long runs. I always do feel the Cloudsurfer is pitched more at day in, day out, you know, kind of 10Ks rather than going and doing a lot of long runs. Although I think the second version is better on long runs than the first one was. But, yeah, maybe that's it. The Eclipse is pitched more as doing the same thing, but with a bit more range because of the speedboard.
I guess the final thing, if you're landing a bit more kind of forefoot as well, there is more under the forefoot in the Cloudeclipse as well. So I do notice that a bit. So moving on to a quick verdict, then we've covered some of that already, I think, in the main run test section. But Nick, if you're going to choose one of these shoes, which one's it going to be?
I think if you're looking for a all-rounder shoe, you can buy one shoe to do everything. I probably would look at the Eclipse first. I think it has a bit more range, a bit more comfort, but also quite a nice snappy ride at times. For my uses, I'd get the Cloudsurfer 2. Both of these shoes in my rotation would be like the comfortable daily trainer, just for cruising miles in, that kind of thing. And I think the Cloudsurfer 2 does that better. It has got a comfier step-in feel. It's got a really nice softness of running to it. Don't think it has a whole load of kind of snap and verve for faster runs, but I'd be using it in rotation with faster shoes. So I think, especially as it's cheaper as well, this is the one I'd go for myself. I really like the feeling of it. Clips, though, does have a bit of an edge, I think, in terms of versatility. So maybe if you are just getting one shoe, I'd look at this. But yeah, I'd go for the Surfer. How about you, Kieran?
For me, it kind of really just boils down to price, because I think these guys would sort of cover the same kind of miles, same kinds of runs that I would use them for. It'd be everything from sort of slow and easy, then up to, I'm quite happy to, I like a sort of firmer shoe, so I'm quite happy to go a little bit longer in a shoe that maybe isn't sort of super cushioned or sort of super lightweight, super sprightly. So I can use these sort of up to 90 minutes on feet when I'm moving up to sort of just slower than marathon pace, and they basically do the same job for me. So I just basically boil it down to price, and for that it's going to be the On Cloudsurfer 2. Both great shoes. I think I enjoyed both of them, and I think it's a tight call, but I think just there's a bit more value in the On Cloudsurfer 2. So there you have it. That's been our head-to-head between the On Cloudeclipse and the On Cloudsurfer 2. We hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, hit us up in the comments below. If you've had the chance to run in either or both of these shoes, we'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Do you have a preference for one of them? Dislike both of them? Let us know. We're all ears on that. Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell for more great Run Testers videos when they land on the channel. If you want a full review of both of these shoes, both of those are going to be appearing on the channel just about now. Otherwise, as ever, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate you spending the time with us. And until next time, happy running, people.